Have you ever felt like something inside you just shifted? Like one day you woke up and realized that the place that once felt sacred no longer feels like home? You walk into a church, sit down, and everyone around you seems perfectly content, but deep down you feel this quiet voice whispering, you don't belong here anymore. If that's happening to you, listen carefully, because what you're experiencing isn't confusion, it's a divine calling. You're not losing faith. You're evolving beyond the walls that once tried to contain your spirit. See, for the chosen ones, God doesn't always reveal himself through stained glass windows or familiar sermons. He speaks in moments of silence, in your loneliness. In those nights when you cried and nobody knew, he's pulling you out of the crowd, not to punish you, but to prepare you. This isn't about abandoning your beliefs. It's about discovering a deeper truth. You are the temple now. Your body, your soul, your intuition. These are the sacred spaces where the divine wants to dwell. And that's why lately you've been feeling restless in the places that used to feed you, because your spirit has outgrown them. You're stepping into a new dimension of understanding, and that transition isn't always comfortable. It can feel lonely, even painful. But this discomfort, it's the sign that you're being set apart for something greater. Today, we're going to uncover the truth behind this transformation. Why the chosen ones are being pulled away from traditional systems. Why you've been misunderstood, isolated, and even rejected by those who once walked beside you. And how that very isolation is the sign that your spiritual purpose is activating. So, stay till the end. Because once you understand what's truly happening, you'll never look at your journey the same way again. You'll realize you were never rejected, you were redirected. When you start awakening, one of the first things you'll notice is separation. It feels like life is pulling you away from people, places, and routines you once loved. Friends stop calling. Conversations that used to feel easy now feel draining. Even family gatherings begin to feel foreign, and you start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Why don't I fit in anymore? But here's the truth. Nothing is wrong with you. It's just that your frequency has changed. You see, when your soul begins to elevate, the things that once matched your vibration no longer do. You're not rejecting them. Your spirit is just outgrowing them. It's like trying to wear the same clothes you wore as a child. They don't fit anymore. And that's exactly what's happening on a spiritual level. This is what many people call a divine separation. It's not punishment. It's protection. It's protection. The universe is clearing space, removing what can't go where you're going next. It might feel like you're losing everything, but in reality, everything that's being stripped away is simply what cannot align with the version of you that's emerging, and it hurts. Because some of the people you love the most might start to misunderstand you. They'll say things like, you've changed, you're acting distant, you think you're better than us, but no, you're just becoming who you were always meant to be. And the truth is, not everyone can recognize you during your transformation. The chosen ones are not meant to stay in familiar places. You carry a light that exposes truth, and not everyone is ready to face that truth. So life isolates you to strengthen you. You're being placed in solitude not to break you down, but to rebuild your faith, your discernment, and your spiritual power. When everything starts falling apart, it's actually coming together in divine order. Your spirit team, your higher self, your divine guidance, they're removing distractions so you can hear the call clearly. So if lately you've been feeling disconnected, lonely, unseen, know this, you are not being abandoned. You're being anointed in silence, because the next phase of your life will require a version of you that no longer seeks validation from the crowd. This is your spiritual metamorphosis. The cocoon stage before the flight. The divine separation is the universe whispering. You're ready. Before elevation, there's always humiliation. Before the crown, there's always the crushing. Every chosen one, at some point, must walk through what I call the humiliation ritual. A divine breaking that strips away every false identity you once clung to. It's not random. It's not karma. It's initiation. You'll know you're in it when everything you thought you were begins to collapse. People you trusted suddenly turn on you. Doors that once opened easily begin to slam shut. Opportunities vanish. Even your prayers start to feel like they hit the ceiling and fall back silent. And you cry out, "Oh God, where are you? I've done everything right. Why am I being punished?" But you're not being punished. You're being purified. You're being prepared. The humiliation ritual is how heaven tests your heart, not your reputation. Because before God elevates you publicly, he must refine you privately. He must make sure your motives are pure, your faith unshakable, and your ego surrendered. This is where the mask comes off. This is where you learn that being chosen isn't about being celebrated. It's about being set apart. And sometimes being set apart looks a lot like being rejected. People will misunderstand you. They'll gossip about you. They'll call you prideful, lost, or too different. They'll laugh at your silence, mock your obedience, and question your faith. But the truth is, God hides his strongest warriors in humiliation because that's where he teaches them humility. He allows your name to be dragged so he can rebuild your identity on truth, not approval. This is the season where you walk through the fire alone, and that fire is not there to destroy you. It's there to reveal what's indestructible within you. You'll start to see people exit your life not because you did something wrong, but because they were never assigned to your destiny. You'll feel unseen, not because you're forgotten, but because heaven is teaching you to move without applause. You'll feel weak not because you're failing, but because power is being forged in your vulnerability. Listen closely. Every prophet, every visionary, every world changer endured this ritual. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his own brothers before he ever wore a robe of honor. David was mocked, hunted, and doubted before he became king. Even Jesus was humiliated, stripped, and rejected before resurrection glory. So if your life feels like it's falling apart right now, congratulations, you're in your refining fire. And what comes out of that fire will not just shine, it will glow with divine purpose. You see, humiliation is the soil in which divine authority grows. The very people who laughed at your fall will one day witness your rise. The same ones who whispered against you will have to watch God honor you publicly. And when that happens, you won't seek revenge. Because by then, your heart will be too healed to hate. Your focus will no longer be on proving them wrong. It'll be on fulfilling your calling. So endure the breaking. Endure the misunderstanding. Endure the loneliness. Because this is the place where heaven installs spiritual power, the kind that cannot be taken, copied, or faked. This humiliation is holy, and when you emerge, you will walk differently, not with pride, but with peace. Not with fear, but with fire. Because now you know who you are, not through others' approval, but through divine revelation. After humiliation comes the silence, not the silence of abandonment, but the silence of abandonment. This is the wilderness season, the sacred classroom where God takes his chosen ones after the breaking. It's where your old identity dies and your divine assignment is born. The wilderness isn't punishment, it's promotion in disguise. It's the in-between, no longer where you were, not yet where you're going. And this season, it tests everything. You'll wake up some mornings feeling invisible, forgotten and misunderstood. Your prayers will echo back to you unanswered. Your phone will stop ringing. Friends will drift away. Nothing will seem to move. And yet in that stillness, something holy is happening, because it's in the wilderness that God teaches you to recognize his voice apart from the noise of the world. He strips away distractions, applause, and dependencies until only his presence remains. He detoxes your spirit from the addiction to validation. He teaches you how to walk by faith, not feedback. You begin to see how your worth never depended on who noticed you. It was always sealed by who created you. In the wilderness, you start hearing whispers instead of sermons. Not booming instructions, but gentle nudges. A quiet stirring that says, I'm still here, keep walking. And even though the path looks empty, heaven is working behind the scenes. Because God never wastes wilderness time, he uses it to build discernment. Discernment. That spiritual radar that keeps you safe when opportunities, people, and energies around you aren't what they seem. When your spirit begins to awaken, not everyone around you will understand. Some will sense your light and feel threatened. Others will try to pull you back into old patterns. That's why the wilderness is necessary. It's where you learn to tell the difference between what's sent by God and what's sent to distract you. You'll start to realize, not every open door is divine, not every voice is truth, and not every invitation is meant for you. God will let some opportunities fade, not because you're unworthy, but because he's protecting your energy from counterfeits. He's preserving your purpose for divine alignment. And once you master that discernment, your life begins to shift. The same silence that once scared you now feels sacred. The same loneliness that once broke you now becomes your sanctuary. You start to understand why isolation was necessary. It was never rejection, it was redirection. Every chosen one must go through this wilderness season because it's the only place where your inner compass becomes tuned to heaven's frequency. You begin to operate not from emotion but from revelation, not from fear but from knowing. That's why so many miss their destiny. They try to escape the wilderness too soon. But if you rush the process, you'll carry premature power, and premature power always collapses. You must stay long enough in the wilderness for your roots to grow deep. Deep enough that when you finally bloom, storms can't uproot you. Think about Moses, 40 years in the desert before he ever led his people. David, hiding in caves before wearing a crown. Even Jesus, 40 days of fasting in the wilderness before he stepped into his divine assignment. The wilderness is the training ground for destiny. It's where power becomes pure. It's where your character becomes stronger than your calling. And when God finally says, "For now, you'll step out of that wilderness unrecognizable, not in looks but in spirit. Your eyes will carry peace. Your words will carry authority. Your presence will carry weight. You'll no longer chase purpose. You'll embody it." So if you're in the wilderness right now, breathe. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're being rebuilt by heaven itself. And soon, the same silence that once terrified you will become the very sound of your strength. There comes a moment, quiet, sacred, almost invisible, when something shifts inside you. You can't explain it, but you feel it. Your spirit, once heavy and restless, begins to lighten. The confusion that once surrounded your life starts to dissolve, like fog lifting at sunrise. You've entered the awakening phase, and this awakening, it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's subtle, but it changes everything. Your discernment sharpens. You begin to see things differently. People, patterns, energy. The same rooms that once felt comfortable now feel small. The same conversations that once entertained you now drain you. You start noticing truth hidden beneath appearances. This is what happens when divine awareness activates. Your spirit starts operating from truth rather than illusion. You recognize that not every smiling face holds pure intent. Not every spiritual-sounding message comes from light. You begin to detect vibrations, the ones that bring peace and the ones that disturb it. That's discernment, the supernatural ability to see beyond the surface. And it's not just a gift, it's protection, because now God is preparing to elevate you, and elevation always attracts imitation. As you rise, not everyone will clap. Some will come disguised as supporters, but their energy will feel heavy. Your spirit will know before your mind does. You'll find yourself saying no to things that used to excite you, not out of fear, but because your frequency has changed. You no longer chase validation. You chase alignment. Every "I know" you speak in this season will make space for a divine yes. And that's where true spiritual power begins. Not in control, but in clarity. The chosen are not powerful because they dominate others. They are powerful because they see what others cannot. They move with wisdom, they speak with precision, and they act with purpose. But make no mistake, with discernment comes a new kind of responsibility. Once your eyes are open, you can't unsee truth. You'll begin to notice spiritual manipulation in places that once looked holy. You'll sense how some people use God's name for personal gain, how some churches preach control instead of freedom, how some communities use fear to keep people asleep. And at first, this realization may hurt. It will shake everything you once believed. But that's part of the awakening. God removes the illusion not to make you bitter, but to make you free. You'll realize the church was never the destination, it was only the doorway. The true temple has always been you. And when that revelation sinks in, your entire energy shifts. You stop trying to fit into spiritual boxes that no longer hold your light. You stop chasing approval from people who were never meant to understand your path. You begin to walk with a quiet confidence, one that doesn't need to prove, defend, or argue. You simply know, and that knowing radiates. People around you begin to feel it. Your presence starts to convict, heal, and awaken others, without you saying a word. Because chosen ones don't preach from pulpits, they preach through presence. Their peace becomes their sermon, their discernment becomes their authority, their journey becomes their message. You will start to see how the very pain that broke you was the pressure that activated your anointing. How humiliation taught you humility. How isolation taught you intimacy with God. How rejection redirected you into divine purpose. And in that realization, gratitude floods your spirit. You no longer curse what hurt you, you bless it. Because now you see what it produced in you: strength, wisdom, spiritual sight, power that cannot be manipulated. This is divine awakening, not the kind that screams with miracles, but the kind that breathes peace even in storms. You've moved from needing validation to becoming the validation, from seeking God outside of you to discovering Him within you. And once you reach this awareness, the energy around you starts to respond. Doors that once felt closed open without effort. And now your story becomes someone else's survival guide. Your breakthrough becomes someone else's hope. You've become a living testimony that divine alignment always wins. Even when you were broken, you were being built. Even when you felt forgotten, heaven was writing your name in purpose. This right here is the moment everything changes. You are no longer the victim of your past. You are the architect of your future. You are no longer chasing meaning. You are the meaning. Because through every dark night, every unanswered prayer, every painful ending, God was awakening something holy inside you. And now that it's awake, there's no turning back. You've stepped into a season where everything that tried to destroy you will start working for you. Doors that were once closed will open effortlessly. People meant for your next chapter will appear. You'll speak and divine timing will respond. You'll move and creation will align. Because when a chosen one rises, heaven moves with them. So hold your head high. Walk boldly into the next chapter of your life. You've earned this. You've survived the ritual. You've passed the test. Now it's time to live in your divine reward. And remember this, your purpose isn't just to shine for yourself. It's to awaken the light in others. Because that's what chosen ones do. They don't escape the fire. They become the flame that guides others home. So if you're watching this and something inside you is whispering, "That's me, that's my story," it's not a coincidence. It's confirmation. Your spirit recognizes truth. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're chosen, and your awakening has just begun.